welcome to the 89th lecture of the Ontario University of Commerce English Lecture Series. Today we welcome Neil Hartmann. He is a photographer and a filmmaker, and his title for his talk today is Neil Hartmann, Hokkaidian for Life. Please welcome Neil Hartmann.
Good morning, everybody. All right, I'm going to use the microphone. First off, I'd like to introduce my father, who is a special guest here today.
Whoa.
We got to get this right away. Mr. Ken Hartmann. This is my father.
Give me money.
Money. Okay. Hold on. Give me the bank account later. All right, once again, my name is Neil Hartmann. I've been in Japan since 1991. We'll get into the whole history here in a minute. I'm from the United States of Trump, so I'd like to get that out of the way real quick, and we'll put that into the history. So the title of my speech, or my lecture, it's not really a lecture, I'm just going to talk for about an hour. Hokkaidian for Life. I love the word Hokkaidian. It's something a few friends and I talked about 20 years ago, and I thought it was kind of a real good word, like Canadian. I think Canadian's a great word. We don't have that for Americans, do we? You say American.
There are some Americans.
Or American.
Yeah.
Now Trumpians. We can be Trumpians. Sorry, okay. Everybody, I know everybody's tired of that. So. I love the word Hokkaidian. I feel like I am a Hokkaidian from living here for more than 25 years. So today I just want to talk about the Hokkaido that I know and love and share some of the photography and filmmaking I've been doing here for the last 25 years. So let's see if we can get started here. We're going to cover my personal history a little bit, the seasons here in Hokkaido, and then at the end I want to talk a little bit about where Hokkaido is now and where I think Hokkaido is heading in the next 10 to 20 years, and maybe we'll get some questions. Oh, by the way, this is probably the most English I'll have spoken in like a single day for a long time. I speak Japanese all day long. My family speaks Japanese to me. I have 3 daughters. I speak Japanese to them. I speak Japanese for all the work I do. My wife is Japanese, so this is like, I'm so excited to speak this much English for like an hour. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to. I think it might be hard. So if I revert into Japanese, please remind me, okay? You're speaking Japanese, because sometimes I forget. Okay, so born in San Diego, California in 1972, 44 years old, traveled all over the world with my family, which we'll get into in a little bit. We did lots and lots of traveling when I was young. Mostly homeschooled. I think I had a total of, I don't know what you say, 4 years, 2 years? 2 years of official schooling. I know that's not a good thing to say at a university, maybe. Interested in performing arts and film as long as I can remember. Moved to Japan in 1991, I mentioned that. Worked as a DJ on AirG-FM, which is the largest radio station, or at the time was the largest radio station here in Hokkaido. Did that for about 7 years. For me, that was my university education. That's where I learned Japanese and culture and a lot of different things. I started self-producing snowboard movies in 1999. That was back when it was VHS, not DVD. I made the first 2 movies on VHS. Since then, I have released 12 DVDs altogether, the best known being a series called the Kardanchi series, which we'll watch in a little bit. And now I'm working as a photographer, do filmmaking, and I always like to say multi-tool coordinator, because when you're a foreigner, I think in any country, you end up doing a lot of different things, taking on a lot of different roles, and just like being here today, this is another part of what I do. I even have it on my business card, multi-tool. And Japanese people love that. They go up, they read it, Maruchi-tsuru. Oh. And they get this really great reaction. They're like, that's not a job. So I like that. And the final one, Cool Japan Ambassador. So I got the little logo there. I was actually selected as one of 33 or 35 people, and I'm able to use this nice logo and say that I am a Cool Japan Ambassador. Is something that the government started a couple years ago, and it's not a job, I don't get paid for it or anything, but my responsibility, or what I try to do, is find what I think is cool about Japan and share that to the rest of the world. And it's social media, it's Facebook, it's YouTube, it's whatever I do, and it's a nice title, I like it. And I hope it develops more. There's some really cool people in the program. If you go home and you Google it, you'll see more about it. All right, we're gonna get into some details. So there we are, 1972, parents Ken, who's here today, Maxine, my mother, lives in Las Vegas of all places. Neil August Hartmann, that's what he looked like back then. Now, a little history of the youth, and this will, you'll understand it more when we get into the second half. These are some of the places I lived, some of the places my father and my mother decided to take me. This is Southern California, actually, in the mountains outside of San Diego, Mount Laguna. That was my first experience with snow. San Diego, where I was born, is a very dry, it's a desert beach town. But we had this little cabin for 2 years, I think it was.
Yes, Hay Fork.
Well, before Hay Fork.
Oh, before Hay Fork.
Yeah, before Mount Laguna. Then we moved to Northern California, small town called Hay Fork, very small, and bought this cabin. It's a log cabin, no electricity. No electricity. I remember the washing machine was one of those hand crank kind of washing machines. And huge garden. Spent lots of hours out in the garden. I was obviously playing. Parents were working, making a lot of vegetables. Not working, but gardening. Gardening. It's work. It's physical labor. Physical labor gardening. And I always remember, well, there's so many memories, but one was the groundhogs. Is that what they're? I think they're called groundhogs.
Yes.
Those little
Gophers.
animals. Gophers. They pop up out of the hole. They look around, and they get down, and then they go another hole, and they come and eat your vegetables. So I remember we had a neighbor who came over, and he literally sat in a chair with a shotgun for like 3 hours, and just patiently waiting. Boom! Shooting the gophers. And I was about 12 years old. It had a huge impact on me. It's like, wow, this is country living. Then, we decided to go another step further, and we bought the school bus. This was a real school bus, took all the seats out, converted it inside to a motorhome, a camping car, and went real hippie style. We named it the Voyager 3, I think, is that right?
Yes.
I can fact check everything with my father here, just so I don't make any mistakes. This is great. We didn't have it painted on here at the time, but later we painted the Voyager 3. And we traveled around America and into Mexico with this. Another great memory. This thing was really tough to drive, you know, manual, only my father could drive it. I remember outside of Mexico City, we're on a very steep road. Mexico City is quite high elevation. Going up the road, traffic, we stop, and the bus starts to slowly go backwards down the hill. And my father said, "Neil, get out! Put the block under the wheel!" I had to run out, throw the wood block under the wheel to stop the motorhome from smashing into the cars behind us. And that was another moment I'll always remember, like, when you're told to do something important, do it right away. So eventually, this broke down. We left Mexico. We bought a new camper, this one right here, you see. And we went back into Mexico for another, I think, maybe 6 months. This had another huge impact on me, was staying, I think this is the Yucatan Peninsula, very far south in Mexico. And we stayed on this beach for a few weeks. This is just, you know, nobody around, just absolute, you know, paradise, if you will. One more memory. With my mother, we made candles in the beach. If you dig a hole, like with a bottle in the sand, and then you pour hot wax, and you put a string in the middle, and you wait for like 30 minutes, it hardens, and you have a handmade candle. So we did this on the beach here. Such a beautiful paradise. We walked away for 30 minutes, came back, and some local had stolen all the candles. And I was so shocked. It's such a beautiful place, and someone stole my candles. So that's kind of the style of my upbringing, my 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. Came to Japan for the first experience at about 13, I think. Now we jump ahead a little bit to the part where I got into the performing arts. So my first love of performing was juggling. So you see it there. Does anybody, do you believe I juggle? Believe me, what you know. You did. Do you want to see some juggling? Yay! Okay. So we finally get to the entertainment part.
That's a low ceiling.
It is a low ceiling. That's good. I don't have to do any hard tricks. I brought, literally, I hardly ever juggle. I only juggle when I have a presentation like this. But I did bring, you see, these are the same clubs from the photo. They lasted a long time. Okay.
This was better than going to school, right?
This is way better than going to school. When did I start juggling? I started juggling, actually, on the first trip to Japan. When I was 13 years old, we stayed close to a year. And I remember, my bed, my room, was my practice zone, because you didn't have to bend so far down to pick up the balls you dropped. So I would, juggling, like over the bed like this. And every time I dropped, I could just pick them up. That's how I started my juggling. Okay? Smart.
Good thinking.
Went back to America and then spent age 15, 16, 17, 18, until I came to Japan, about 4 or 5 years, intensive juggling. That's all I thought of. I went to juggling conventions. I had a partner. This is my partner, Jamie. If you Google Jamie Atkins, he's actually now still solo performing in Paris and all around the world. He's really done well. Really famous. He rides a bicycle that's a tiny, tiny bicycle like this.
Really?
Anyway, so let's see if I can do a few tricks. What? Okay. At least I got that part.
Yeah.
Okay. Jump small, jump pretty big, test it out. Okay. Oh, see? I'm gonna go over the table. Let's see. I'm just gonna do my hardest trick with 3 balls, and you can applaud quickly because it won't last long. There we go. That's Mill's mess.
Whoa.
Okay. Whoa.
How about laying on the table?
No hard reflex. We'll try one more. Okay. We'll try 5. I used to do 7 when I was 17. This actually is quite low. Ready? Okay, 5 is very fast. Okay? So as soon as it starts, we don't need a lot of pressure here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Very fast. All right, here we go. I really have not practiced this for about a year. Oh, see? Okay, hold on. Why is it so cold in this room?
A little longer.
I need a little bit longer. Okay, ready? There we go. All right, hold on. Okay, try these now. So, I juggled, and I really thought I could make it. That was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I was like, oh, juggling's cool. I love performing in front of people. My partner Jamie and I, we street performed. So in San Diego, there was a famous park called Balboa Park. A lot of museums. And you could go there and you would reserve a spot. And you would go and get your lottery, you'd get your spot. Oh, I'm spot 23 today, good. You would go and we would perform. At the end, we'd
pass the hat. We would make some money. On some days we did maybe 5 shows. I think on a big day we would make a couple $100. And you'd split that, be $150 each, which was pretty good when you're 17 years old and you're street performing. I thought that was fantastic. Eventually, the reason the juggling ended was I decided to come to Japan and be a Hokkaidian rather than a professional juggler. But it certainly was a lot of fun while it lasted. All right, let's try the clubs. See if I can do anything here. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So these were, they're bowling pins. They're shaped to look like bowling pins, but they're not. The original jugglers started with real bowling pins, I'm sure. And then they developed these. Let's see if we can do anything here. Wow. Wow. Actually, these are really simple tricks, but that's all I can do right now. Sorry, folks. Let's see, a little more technical. Ooh, there it goes. Okay. It's actually more exciting when you're really close. Go on. One more.
Yeah, forget the balls.
Okay. Okay.
All right, that's good. The juggling always eats up a good 5-10 minutes of that lecture. Actually got the blood moving. So that was my life until about 18 years old. Just performing and juggling, trying to make a living off of that. And then I came to Japan, thanks to my father, who was here the whole time since 1983, 84. And now, what I do, we jumped ahead to the future, basically professional traveler is another way to look at it. All my photography work generally rotates around going on trips. I don't do much studio photography, so I became kind of known as an outdoor photographer. So I get asked to go, snowboarding trips. This is a trip to Russia with a famous Japanese DJ and producer. We went and traveled around just playing travel trips. And I've done a lot of work with brands like the North Face and shooting trail running, different things. But why Hokkaido? So why did we end up here? Obviously it was the family trip that brought us to Japan. That was 1983, I believe, and this is somewhere in Sumikawa in Sapporo. This was my first experience with the deep snow that you have here in Hokkaido. And it really made a big impression on me. And this photo, I look at this photo and it always brings back a lot of memories. I think that's my dad shoveling snow right there. So, what did I do? Well, when I first came in that photo, 1983, I started mini skiing with the little plastic skis. I was skating around in the streets, just loving it. Then snowboarding arrived, or I discovered snowboarding. On the next trip, I came back to Hokkaido. I was 15 years old. This is this is 16. And I absolutely fell in love with snowboarding. This was it was juggling and snowboarding. Those were the only 2 things I was thinking about at the time. This is the second snowboard I bought, a Sims snowboard, and this was in Sapporo at the Makomanai Park, which you can still go to today. It's a large park there, and they have some hills. And we built a jump down at the bottom of one of the hills. Go down the hill, jump, flat landing. Very flat landing. But I was 16, it didn't matter. And that's me now, snowboarding, 44 years old. So not too much has changed, although I had probably better style at 16 years old.
来たー！カーナイチだ2014年カーナイチの7作目 Cars plus Japan plus Powder equals Carnage 7th Gear.
So this is the teaser for one of the videos I made. This is 2014, but I think it sums up the video series Carnage rather well. So just watch this and then I'll talk about it.
trying to live life someone else's tune. I'ma hum my own future, so for you there's no room. And I'm singing the same song, I don't wanna be groomed. Trying to find my own peace of mind so that I can bloom. I ain't trying to own nothing, no movements asked to stay accountable for me. I ain't abusing the facts. It's like, what can I do for you if I can't do for me first? Gotta be responsible no matter how much she hurts. And she knows it's even better than I do. Sometimes I want occasion, but I know she gotta fly too. I don't mind. Does this to me every time? Come back and I start to cry.
This is the car. This is the car Dutch.
I don't mind, no. Does this to me every time?
So the Cardachi video series started in, it was 2005. I had produced a couple videos, and then I took a break for a couple of years, and I decided to make a new snowboarding video. And we came up with the title Cardanchi, which is a combination of English car and danchi, Japanese. Danchi means apartment buildings. More specifically, kind of insinuates subsidized housing in Japan. You'll see the large apartment building complexes. And sometimes they're company owned. The company you work for will pay for half of your housing if you live there. So they kind of have a bit of a, ghetto is a bad word, but they kind of have a low-end kind of feeling. So what we were doing was sleeping in our cars and traveling all over Hokkaido to snowboard. And when we parked the cars at night in a parking lot like this, and the cars would line up, and you would go to the bathroom or something, and you'd come back, and I would see the cars in the line with the lights on, and it looked like kind of a ghetto apartment complex. So one of the guys came up with the word, oh, Cardanchi. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of a cool word. Let's use that for the title of the video. So it was a snowboarding video to begin with, and still is, but it's a large portion of it is about the lifestyle, which is what I wanted to express and to promote. Because everybody knows snowboarding, and everybody knows, you know, amazing tricks and things going on, professional level. But I wanted to show the side you don't often see, the part where we are eating ramen in the car, or your boots are really cold from leaving them out overnight, or, you know, all that fun stuff. So that's why I created the Cardanchi series. The first one in 2005 got a really good reception. We made number 2, we made number 3. I thought, oh, what should I do? And I just kept making them, and now we're up to number 9. So hopefully next year I'll be producing the 10th installment of the Cardanchi series. So basically it has been the main momentum in my life here in Hokkaido for the last 10 years. Let's watch another video. Now, January 1st of 2016, I started trying to do a daily video blog on YouTube. And this is a portion of one episode from February. Basically, I just started filming everything with my GoPro and editing it at night, putting it up on YouTube the next morning. This is Kami Furano, which is a small town slightly north of Furano, in the middle of Hokkaido. So this is the multi-tool part of my job. I was not the photographer or video maker on this trip. I was the coordinator. I was the one helping set up this trip for a professional snowboarder, an Olympic athlete called Antti Auti from Finland. So when we bring the foreign film crews to Hokkaido, we always go to the convenience store first, because I'm used to it, but everybody who comes to Japan gets so excited about all the food in the convenience stores.
All right, we're driving up the road to Hokkaidian right now. It is beautiful. The sun has come out this morning. This area brings back a lot of memories for me personally. This is kind of where my introduction to, high alpine, big mountains, backcountry, hiking in nature, and all that kind of really started about a little over 10 years ago in, the early to mid 90s. 晴れてます今日。しばらくですね、久しぶりに来た。90年代半ば、ここで本当バックカントリーの初体験というか、本気の山、スキー場じゃないところ。
Does the English sound more natural or the Japanese sound more natural?
感動した最初の。
Some people watch my video blog, and I try to do it bilingually and translate what I'm saying. And I've had Japanese people say, Neil, your English sounds rather strained. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, that's probably not a good thing. But just to touch on that, I do feel after having spent more than half my life here, Japanese language for me suits Japan better. Just like the English language suits America better. When you're in that place, I find it easier to speak Japanese in Japan because everything is Japanese here. So for me, it's real natural to go back and forth. So this is a little look at how I spend my winters filming. This is definitely one of my favorite mountains to go to. It's the Tokachi mountain range in the middle of Hokkaido. This is a split board. We go split boarding, ice, snowshoe, or split board sometimes too. And today we were guiding this crew to go and let them find what they want to film. Check this guy out.
今日の一番すごい人です。
This guy was definitely the MVP of the day. I've actually seen him a few times at this place. He goes there all year round, regardless of the weather. Snow, rain, doesn't matter. He's cycling up to the top and rides back down. Amazing. That's a real Hokkaidian right there.
今回のライダーさんにいます。アルティアウティ、ニコラス・ウォルケン、そしてエリ。
So if you ever do have a chance, where I'm walking right now is only about 5 minutes away from the parking lot. So even if you don't ski or snowboard or have, no hiking experience, you can walk a little bit and see this amazing view that you find in the Tokachi mountain range. This is, like I said, early February. So it's minus 20 degrees, I think. It's very cold, but absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it was really, really cold. But when it's that cold, this is what you get. You get the diamond dust, the sparkling crystals in the air, and you get the juhyo, which is the snow caked on the trees.
I'm speechless. Just speechless. Nice.
And these guys are from Finland. They know cold. And they were really excited to be here. So I wanted to show you, I actually downloaded it from the internet. Let me see if I can show you the film that they ended up making from this trip. So you saw my behind the scenes. Now we can see what they made. And they were very nice to include me a little bit in there as well, and our Kardachi lifestyle. Here I am making coffee for the crew, and you can see my Japanese style obento. Okay, so this, we'll just show a little bit. I know I'm kind of going to run out of time here. But this is what Andy Auti and his crew put together from that trip. They called it Onsen Tour.
Japanese culture has always been very interesting to me. Every time I go there, I want to learn more about it. So for this trip, we wanted to get the true Japanese experience, and that's where the idea of an onsen tour came up.
Onsen tour, I think, is a great concept because to me it's really what Hokkaido in Japan is about. You can go snowboarding and spend your day on the mountain, and then you can, right away after you finish riding, you can sit and soak in like one of the greatest hot springs around. And there's not many places I think you can do that around the world. And Hokkaido is definitely one of the best. We have the best quality snow, the best quality hot springs, and they're close together. So we're trying to take advantage of that.
日本人にとってくれる存在がね、温泉なくてはならないもので、必ずみんな入る。そのお風呂の文化も一緒で、温泉もあればその銭湯ももちろん街にはあって、でこう日本人がよく言うのは裸の付き合い。みんなこう裸になってお風呂に入って話せばその地位も関係なくて誰が偉いとか。そういうのは別に関係なくてみんな裸で体一個で語り合えるっていうそういう場でね温泉ってねが日本にあってで特に北海道で僕らスノーボードしてるから
So the guy talking right now is Nakagawa Shinya. He's been in my films for the last 10 years. He is now a professional mountain guide in Asahikawa. He is based, and he guides all around the mountains there. So he was the guide, the mountain guide, and I was the coordinator on this trip. And it's definitely a real pleasure to work with these guys. You can see the whole film on YouTube or the internet. If you just search for Onsen Tour, it will come up. It would be great if you have a chance to watch it. But I'm happy that Antti and so many other foreigners are coming from around the world now to showcase Japan and specifically for me Hokkaido, and not just one aspect of it. They're starting to get into the real culture of this, onsen. What is it about onsen that's so good? And the food. What is it about the food? And it's not just the skiing and the snowboarding anymore. They're taking it a step further into the culture, and that really kind of makes me happy. Here we are eating ramen. That looks good. So there's my, oh, by the way, the car you saw there, that's the Daihatsu Wake. It's a small car that I've been driving for the last 2 years. I actually did a big job with the company who makes this car, and I helped make some web movies and promote it, and I'm still driving it today. By the way, this word kardanchi, I just yesterday for this lecture went on Google, and I Googled kardanchi, and we got 58,400 results. So I was pretty happy. Yeah. See? You just put it out there, man, and Google's gonna take it for it. A lot of that is my stuff. Obviously, I put a lot of stuff out there, but I don't put 58,000 posts out there. So a lot of people are doing a lot of things. I searched for kardanchi images, and it came up with, I don't know the number, but a lot of results. And it's not just me and us. The word has kind of grown to become a word that surfers use, and other people who don't even snowboard, don't even know where the word came from, use. And I find that kind of fascinating. So just for the non, I guess everybody born in Japan, shahaku. You know shahaku? Yeah? Shahaku means to sleep in your car. Sha is the kanji for automobile. Haku is like to stay over. That was what people always said when you were going to sleep in your car. Kyou wa shahaku suru. And now we have the option of saying kyou wa kardanchi suru. So I'm kind of happy that we've been able to create a new word here in Japan. All right, let's take a break from winter. And this is one of the environmental gems just outside of Sapporo, which I love to take my family and go camping. This is Shikotsuko, or the Shikotsu Lake, which is, one of Hokkaido's gems. It is beautiful, it is clean. You have an amazing campsite right there. You can go kayaking or canoeing. There's only a few motorboats allowed on the lake for professional fishing. So there's no leisure jet skiing or boats, which is really nice. That's what keeps it super clean. The water is gorgeous. Obviously the winter season is my main season, especially for work and snowboarding, but I try to balance that out as much as possible. Definitely take the family out a lot to these great outdoor locations, and that is another reason I really love Hokkaido. There's so many spots like this, and it's such a big island, it is really, truly hard to cover it all. I'm gonna skip this one. I got too much stuff here today. This was a camping trip, but a video, but I'll pass that for now. I wanted to talk about this, because this is my recent hobby the last few years. Hokkaido Pioneer Homes, I like to call them. We actually have, I'm sure you have a bunch right here in Otaru. They're all over the island. They're old wooden structures, and these are some of the original buildings that were built when Japan really started to develop Hokkaido. Obviously you have the Ainu people and the Ainu culture who were here long, long before that, and they had their own types of structures. But these are the more modern structures built by the people coming from other parts of Japan, and I love to find them and take pictures of it. This one is on the road to Niseko, and for a few years I just drove past it and I never stopped. And then one year I drove by and the whole roof had caved in, and it was just like that. And I thought, oh, you know, next year it's gonna be gone. I gotta stop. So I stopped, went back and took this photo. And yes, the next year I went back and it was completely crushed. So now it has become my sort of passion whenever I drive around Hokkaido, is to find these old buildings and take a picture or two. This one is in Makkari, on the south side of Mount Yote. I was snowmobiling, and we were snowmobiling out in the hills, and I came up over a ridge and looked down, and there was this house, far away from the road, over a hill in a valley. Who would decide to live there? This is like, now, you would go, this is a terrible location. But I stopped, I walked around, and I realized, it's kind of hard to see in the photo, there's a small creek running right alongside the house. So obviously, they built the house there because there was water. And these are the kind of things I like to see as well. It's like, oh yeah, that reminds you. Now we just turn on or just connect the pipe and we have water. Back then, obviously, you had to live near a water source. And with that much snow, imagine like 80 years ago, when there was even more snow. Wow, what a way to spend your life living in Hokkaido. Here is one that is still being used, still people living here, and this one is starting to tip over, but they're still using it to store wood. Here are two also in the Niseko area. Both of these were used until recently, and then I noticed people stopped using them and they start deteriorating right away. The roof starts caving in. Okay, here's a little test for you. One of these is real and one is fake. Which one?
The right one is fake.
The right one is fake. Very good. This was built for the Japanese TV show called Kitano Kunikara. Kitano Kuni, which is was a 20-year, a long TV drama series about Hokkaido. And basically they made a replica of these type of houses. And they shot a lot of scenes here. You can still go see it in Furano. It's pretty cool, but it is fake. This is the real style. And I have one more. This is my favorite one of all time. This was on the road to Shiretoko Peninsula, and I literally I stomped on the brakes. You gotta be kidding me. It's so close to falling over, but it's just hanging on. It's like, "Ganbattemasu." You know? That's like a perfect slogan, you know, "Ganbattemasu." So, if you see any of these houses, next time don't just pass by. Stop, take a look, and you'll gain a little appreciation for how hard I think the early pioneers in Hokkaido had it when they came here. Well, speaking of houses, I recently completed construction of our new house. And this is a little video about us. I didn't build it, we had people build it for us, but I was involved as much as possible. So here we are laying the concrete, and I was allowed to place some crystals and stones and do the tile on the approach. This was kind of a fun experience, being a part of it. And then something really crazy happened.
すごいハプニングが今ありました。せっかく土間超綺麗に全部作ってくれたのに、なんとカラスが歩いてしまった。
So everybody was done, they went home, and a crow came and walked on the wet concrete and left his footprints. And a big turd, which you can see right there. He took a poo on my house. And I was so shocked. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So we had to call the plasterers, I forget what they're called. The company who did the work, we had to call them back, and they came back, and they were not happy. And they had to redo the whole floor, because you can't just do one part, it changes the color. You have to do the whole thing. And then I sat outside on a chair until it was dark with firecrackers, waiting for the crows to come back. Because I realized I had put crystals pointing north, south, east, and west. I embedded crystals in the floor, because I thought it was kind of a cool thing to do. The crow was coming to check out the crystals. That's what I realized. And I was worried that they were going to come back again. So I sat there with the firecrackers, and every now and then, the scent went off. Only in Hokkaido, where you have so many crows, right? We just moved into the house, by the way, about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. Fantastic, very happy. We were actually living right next to this. Our old house is right over here. So we literally moved only 30 meters. But we're in the new house. It's very nice. Here is our Japanese construction worker, Konishi-san. The first week, he had a lot of help. There were about 10 people helping to put up the pillars. After that was finished, he literally spent 4 months by himself, one guy, building the entire house. I was like, wow. I don't know how it works in the rest of the world, but I always assumed there were more people to build a house. But in Japan, it takes one guy. And he did everything. He was amazing. I learned a lot from watching this guy. 65 years old. Every day, 7 a.m. arrive. Every day leave about 7 p.m. Long hours, just working hard. Built the entire house. So I have to say a big thank you to him. So I just wanted to show that. Oh, and here's a couple photos of what it looks like now, or just before we moved in. So once you move in, there's a lot of stuff everywhere. So we took the photos before we moved in. Just that I put a snowboard in the corner to kind of give it some reality. So that's the first floor. This is the crystals, you see. And that's where the crow was walking. But now it's nice and clean. So this is our house in Jozanke. I just wanted to show that to show that we're not going anywhere anytime too soon, because I have a 35-year loan to pay off. So we'll be Hokkaidians for a long time. And we'll get to the latest things here at the end, then we'll have time for a couple questions. I decided this last summer to start a new business, even though I have many things to do. I decided I need one more thing to do. So, in Jozanke, where I live, which is a small hot springs town just across the mountains, electric bicycles. I got 6 electric bicycles and I started renting them to the tourists who came through, and under the name Jozanke Rent-A-Cycle. So this was a little experiment, and it actually went quite well. We didn't have a store or no shop. I just would take reservations and I would bring the bicycles to where the customer is. So anywhere in Jozanke, if someone said, I want to rent 2 bicycles, I would go right away, deliver the bicycles, and they would ride. And just to see how many people wanted to rent bicycles in Jozanke. And on an average, we had 1 to 2 groups every day, 2 to 4 people. Some days we had all 6 bicycles rented out. Some days it was only 1 person. But it was a good average. We finished at the end of October because it started snowing and it was too cold to ride bicycles anymore. The reaction from people was great. The reaction from the media was even better. The Japanese local TV stations, newspaper, and radio all contacted me. I was on 4 TV shows in total, 2 newspaper articles, and 2 radio programs. So everybody was really excited about the Jozanke Rent-A-Cycle, which inspired me. Here's a simple flyer I made. So it's a hot springs village, and when you start in the center, within about 45 minutes, you can go to all different places around the area. And I found that the tourists were wanting to go to some of the farthest places. We have a dam called the Hokkaidian Dam, and we have another dam called the Jozanke Dam. Both of those dams provide, I think, like 90% of the drinking water for Sapporo as a city. They also prevent flooding as well. But many of the tourists, and Japanese, not just foreign tourists, would come, and the first thing they would say is, I want to go to Hokkaidian Dam. It's like, okay, great, it's 35 minutes on the bicycle, it's a long ride uphill, and then you coast back down. So obviously it's a hot springs village. Many people come to stay in the hotels, but what they really were wanting to do was experience nature and see, the mountains and the lakes and the rivers and the views. So I went around and I took photos of the bicycle at all these locations around the village, the forest trails, the parks, the hot springs, the dam, etc. And I used that for promotion. And right now, we've decided to take it a step further. We're going to continue the bicycles next spring, but we are making a shop. We're making a location, and it's going to be called Locale JZK. In the summer, it's going to be the rent-a-cycles, and in the winter, we're actually going to have, through a friend, snowboard and ski demo and test center. So you're going to be able to come rent a snowboard, take it up to Kokusai or go to Niseko or Rusutsu and test it. It's a brand called Field Earth, which is produced here in Hokkaido. It's a very high-end kind of snowboard. They're very expensive. The cheapest ones are $1,000. The most expensive, like $2,500. So people like to test them before they decide to buy them. We're also going to have an original Kuchen, which is a real popular Japanese type of cake. We're going to sell that, and we're going to have coffee and tea and some other small things to sell. So for the last 2 months, I've been renovating with my partner this small store location in Jozanke. So among all the other things, in fact, yesterday I was there and we were building some shelves and working on the floors. But right now you can see this was an old izakaya. It was empty for 5 years. We tore everything out. We tore out the walls, the toilet, just completely gutted it and started to rebuild. And here's the good part. All this wood, you see all this wood? Counter, walls, ceiling, everything was wood left over from building our house. Smart. The company said, do you want the wood? I said, yes, I'll take the wood. So, very ecological construction project, and nice on the wallet. So, quick jump you've seen what I've done the last 25 years with the photography and the filmmaking, experiencing Hokkaido, and now trying to build a new small business in Jozanke. And a couple things I always get asked, and this was part of my Cool Japan work as well. What do you think about Hokkaido and Hokkaido's future? So I wrote the pluses and the minuses. My keyword is always the environment. Everyone seems to come and want to come to Hokkaido for the environment that you find here, whether it's the snow in the winter, or the camping and hiking in the summer, or the lakes, etc. So obviously tourism is booming. Tourism has gone up, but this is only the beginning. Tourism continuing to rise in Hokkaido. In Jozanke, where I live, there are many hotels. Many of them are kind of getting old, and sometimes the owners decide to sell. All of them are being bought by foreign companies. So it's not just Niseko, where all the foreign investment is coming. The Japanese hot springs villages, which are traditionally a very Japanese run business, are now seeing a lot of investment from Malaysia. We have Korean and Chinese all buying hotels and buildings around my neighborhood. I think also Asia's premier summer destination, it started with the winter in Hokkaido, but now it's so cool and so nice here in the summer, and the rest of Asia is getting hotter and hotter. We're going to see more people coming. And of course, global winter resort destination. This is, everybody knows that. It's well talked about now. What about what was that effect? I don't remember doing that. Oh, sorry, I messed up something. The minuses were supposed to be here. Let me see if I can, oh, here they are. I think Hokkaido's problems are kind of three. It's a generalization, but kind of a lack of a unified image. When you say Hokkaido, everybody has, oh, it's good food, or it's snowboarding, or there's so many different things. It's hard to say what is Hokkaido in a real simple package. Another big problem, young people continuing to leave Hokkaido. Japanese young people born and raised in Hokkaido. Not enough work, not enough opportunities, whatever it is, maybe not interested, and a lot of them leave and never come back. So we lose, I think we lose 20,000 people a year, population from Hokkaido. That's what I was told about 2 years ago. 20,000 people is the population of the city of Kuchan, which is very close to Niseko. So if you imagine the city of Kuchan disappearing from Hokkaido every year, that is not a good thing. And my last thing is, I always say, will Japan truly understand the value of Hokkaido's environment? The outdoor, the mountains, the parks, the lakes, all these fantastic places. A good example is the ski resorts. The ski resorts were always very strict and never let people go outside of the ski courses. They put up the ropes, put up the fences, don't ski here, stay on the trail. But everybody started coming to ski outside of the slopes. And they were forced to open up and say, okay, we can't stop you anymore. You can go and enjoy the mountain as a whole. So that has been a great change in all the ski resorts, especially in the Niseko area. Even Furano, it was really tough the last few years, and they are even opening up. So we see changes, but it takes a long time and it's quite slow. So I'm hoping that speeds up, and the country as a whole understands how valuable the nature and the environment here in Hokkaido is. So those are the only things I see that could damage the future of Hokkaido, but right now there's so much good stuff happening and so much foreign interest in the island that it really encourages me. Time for some questions. Wow, I'm kind of on time, aren't I? Dang. Does anybody have any question about anything we talked about?
All right, first, before we get to the questions, I think we should thank our speaker for coming today.
just talked about myself right now.
All right, let's open it up for questions.
Yeah,
Is the shop already done or is it still in progress?
we're still working. That photo was about 5 days ago. So we will open December 17th will be our first opening. And that will be, it won't be 100% complete, but the snowboards rental will be starting. I think the coffee and the cake will come a little later.
Is that right along the strip in Joseon-kei, or?
It is, there's the largest hotel is the View Hotel, which is the massive hotel there, and we are right across the street from the entrance to the View Hotel. So if you look for the View Hotel, you will find us. It's a building that has a soba shop. He's the owner, and there's 3 store locations on the ground floor there, and we're on the far left side. It's a very small space. It's just what you saw in the photo, but it's big enough.
Other questions?
Why I didn't know about this shop?
Oh,
I'm your father.
I'm keeping things, low key.
Already got a picture of it. Yeah, we don't communicate.
Well, I've been keeping it under wraps a little bit. Today's the first official announcement. We actually, this is an added thing about the store. There was the Sapporo government, the Hokkaido government, the Japan government does a lot of work to promote new businesses. And they had it's called, I guess, a grant in English. In Japanese, it's hojokin. They give you a grant if you start up a new business in Joseon-kei. We had 3 months to put something together. You had to use a store location. So it had to be a space that had a store in it, but that store was closed. And so we had to rent the space. You can't just build a new building. They won't give you the grant. So it was a lot of work to find a location in Joseon-kei that we could actually rent, put together a plan, do all the paperwork, which was actually a lot of paperwork, present it to the government. I had to do a 45-minute presentation, and they had a panel of judges, and they asked questions, and I answered. And it worked out good. We got the okay on the grant, so we will get about half of our costs of building the store reimbursed from the Sapporo City government. So that was very nice, very happy. And that was the reason we were kind of under pressure to get this done ASAP. So hopefully, of course, they don't give you the money until you actually do everything. Just to let you know how those things work. So we have to open the store in December, do everything that we said we were going to do, and then they come and they write off a check for about half of our costs, which is really nice. So if you want to start a new business, come to Joseon-kei. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no more locations to rent. I'll just let you know right now. We got the only rentable location in the whole village. Anything else?
I have a question about that. You mentioned that there's a lack of a unified branding image of Hokkaido. If the government came to you and asked you for a recommendation, what would you say to them?
Yeah, that's the pressure question. Well, I find similarities to like Alaska and Canada, even New Zealand. Big thing is your entry point, which is your airports. I think, obviously Hokkaido is so big, it's hard to get everything together and say, this is the one image for Hokkaido. I don't want you to try that. But you have to leave some kind of an impression on people when they arrive and when they depart. And I think the main place for that is your airport and your train stations. Now we have the Shinkansen coming to Hakodate. So those are your 2 main entrance points. And now Hakodate Airport, anyway, airports. Whenever I go to Alaska, you walk out in Alaska Airport, it's like they have a huge bear. They have these amazing murals on the walls showing the history of the island, the history of the state. You're just like, oh, this is Alaska. It just hits you. You arrive in Chitose Airport and you go, Roy's chocolate. Shiratse. Oh, I better buy something.
Yeah.
And it's a great economy they have going there. They got a lot of shops and they make a lot of money, and that's part of Hokkaido. But I think they need to promote the Ainu culture, which is the original culture of Hokkaido. You can't hide from that. You can't run from it.
Yeah.
And they've been kind of like with the Ainu for forever. I understand that. It's like America with the Native Americans, but you have to embrace it. And definitely the nature. I think the bear, obviously Hokkaido is a bear country, more about the animals. So I would promote that natural image and the Ainu culture as a good starting point. And, 25 years ago, I would go to Tokyo and go, wow, I live in Sapporo. Oh, do they have bears in Old Ori Park? And that was from Japanese people. That, no one says that anymore, but I used to get that 25 years ago. So that is the image people have always had of Hokkaido.
Okay, thank you.
Stewart-san.
Yeah. I was surprised about the depopulation of Hokkaido
Yeah.
because we all know that this is boom time for Hokkaido, especially with foreign tourists, Australian, Chinese, Thai, Malaysian. Why isn't that tourist boom creating more jobs so that people stay here?
Great question, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot too. I think Japan is so unused to all this tourism. This is so new. I mean, literally, when my father and I came here 25 years ago, there were like 25 other foreigners, right? there was nobody here. There was no one living here. There was really very limited tourism, and it's only since, especially the big earthquake and the Fukushima, that the government went, boom, we got to spend money and bring people to Japan. This is going to save Japan. And it's worked. They've 10 million or whatever the number is now. But you look at a country like France, which has 100 million people a year tourism. The numbers are so different. When we're living here, we feel, oh, there's so many Chinese tourists coming to Otaru now. But it's still an incredibly small number of what it eventually will be. So I think the local people, especially the Japanese business people, just don't have the vision yet to look ahead 1 or 2 years or 5 years and go, oh, we should start a hotel, we should start a cafe, we should start more tourism businesses. They're kind of hesitant. And that is dangerous because they're going to start losing out, or already are, to the foreign companies who are coming in and have the experience in these global tourism destinations. The Hilton Hotel in Niseko is a good example. That used to be the Prince Hotel, Japanese company. Prince Hotels had some problems. Their boss got put in jail. They had major issues. No other Japanese company bought it. So a Malaysian company called YTA or YDS or something like that, YLT, bought that, turned it into the Hilton Hotel that it is today, and now do a booming business with tourism. So that's a Malaysian company bringing Asian tourists and taking all that money back to Malaysia. So obviously some work and money comes into Hokkaido, but it would be better if it was a Japanese-owned company. So I think they need to play a real catch-up game to other countries and just go and see what other people are doing to make money out of all this tourism and do that. Take the chance, take the risk, because it's definitely only going up from here on out. Did that make sense?
That's great.
One more? Last one?
Anyone else? Last question? Okay, I'll ask Neil to hang around for a few minutes in case you want to go up and talk to him afterwards. Let's again thank Neil for coming in today.
Let's do one thing in Japanese at the very end, just to have fun. We'll do Janken Taikai. You know Janken Taikai? Saisho wa gu, Janken hui. Everybody can do Janken, right? Janken ball. You ever done this like with a group? Okay, this is a good experience. So I will do Janken, and you have to beat me. All the losers, and if you have the same one, you lose, okay? And the last person left wins a special prize. Okay? Okay. Let's go to, we'll do the 3 people, okay? This is a DVD I made, and this is a photography book I made. So we'll try this real quick. Okay, Zane, everybody together, ready? Saisho wa guru, janken pa. Okay, so only scissors remain. So, how many? 1, 2, 3? Oh, we got instant winners! Which would you like? DVD book? There you go. You take one of each? Is that okay? Oh, okay, there you go. That was quick. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. It's nice to be in Osaka. Arigato!